Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Zilliqa. This is going to be our lower time frame video. Make sure you check up above for our higher time frame video if you haven't watched it already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Before we jump into the minor counting here, we're going to discuss a couple of the ways that we are looking at this structure. So we need to just bear in mind there is also the potential here that we could still be looking for a bigger fifth wave to the downside. Effectively, our target currently would be this 01241 to this 0887. Now this is still a potential target here, and the way that we'd have to be looking at this is some kind of a diagonal pattern looking to push down into this area. Effectively, this until we actually break this fourth wave high again of this 3687, we need to be careful of this continuation down. Now it is also possible that if this is a fourth wave here, we could still be potentially looking for either this move to develop as a bigger W and X, and then we're looking for another three-wave move to the upside. One-to-one target is here at this 3805. Or alternatively, what we could be looking at is something more along these lines, where this is A, we look at this as W, X, and Y. Now, the reason I don't really like looking at this structure in this way is it would have been a very big wave 2 or B wave if this is the case. And it starts to become more likely that, that idea of this being a bigger W, an X, and a Y, it just seems to be a bit neater in time comparison. But nevertheless, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. If we do move up past this 1618 in an impulsive structure, there is potential here that this could become 1 2, this could become a 3. We'd be looking for a 4 and a 5. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that, though it is very unlikely given the current move here, but still looking for that potential of a 5-wave move off these lows. So now if we are looking at this idea where we could be looking to progress in a 5-wave structure here, what I'm looking for more locally is the potential that within this structure here, what we could have is that this whole move to the upside has been an A wave or a wave 1. Now, if this is the case, effectively what we're looking for is evidence of this wave 2. Now, the most common zone that we look to target out is between this 50% at this 1969 and this 1717. As long as we hold this 1717 level, we can potentially look for this possibility of a continuation to the upside. Now, given the current structure, what I would be looking for is either this to develop as A, B, and C, and then we get a move up here towards this 3155 as a potential 1-to-1 of the A wave, or alternatively, what we could be looking for is a 5-wave move if we had to move up towards this 4239. So this is based off of our current lows that we have over here, and this would be saying that we'd be starting to look for this third wave or the C wave to play to the upside from here. If we start to push down deeper, this would change these target areas to the upside here, and effectively would change how we're looking at this move. So within the corrective count here, it is still possible that we could still be looking for some more downside. Now, we are looking for that potential that we could have this as a W and X, and then we're looking for this as ABC. Now, it is also potentially possible that we could argue that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here, in which case what we'd be looking for is the potential that this is a B wave, and then we'd be looking for something like a diagonal pattern in this area, which is also a possibility here. Now, we could argue that this diagonal is actually later on here, or alternatively, we could argue that this is A, this is B. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 more locally here, and we could start to see a move up. The thing that I want to see for confirmation this is actually completed would be breaking out of this trend line to the downside here, and then also moving back above these highs. Until we actually do that, we need to be very careful, because there is always the potential that if this is 5 waves down and we have this as a 3-wave move up, and we have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the downside, effectively what we could then see here is that if we just fail to break this high and we just get a 3-wave move, this could become 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we look for a bigger break to the downside. So it's going to be very important that we get back above these highs within this count. Now, within this, what we're saying is that we're looking for this as WXY. The most common target area we're looking for is this 1-to-1. We have, however, hit this 786, and if we are looking at this in the other way, like I said, looking at this as potentially A, B, and then looking at this area as a diagonal pattern, effectively we did hit this 0.618 as well. So this is technically enough to have a completed move here. We do not have enough confirmation yet that this is completed, so I'm just going to be looking out for more confirmation that this is completed. Otherwise, we could still have potential to see price come back down here towards this golden pocket area here of this 1861 to this 1832, which would be quite an interesting zone because of this little low that we've got over here, which we could look to potentially retest. Now, if we did see something like that, then it would be likely that within this structure here, we're getting some extension, and potentially what we would have is that possibly within here, we could have something like a 1-2, and then this is, it doesn't really make a lot of sense unless we get a very shallow wave 2 here, where we get something like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Besides that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to see this break down in an impulse, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. If we fail to push up here, we could then potentially look for some of these lower targets before that push to the upside. But as long as we hold this low that we currently have here at this 1957, we could potentially start to develop an impulse. Now, if this is something like this is 1, 2, we have another 1 and a 2 here, then what we need to see for confirmation that this is going to extend to the upside in an impulse is starting to break back above this 20 cents 73. If we start to break back above these levels, then what we could have here is that this move is becoming 1, 2, this becomes 3, we get an additional 4th and a 5th, and then we'd be looking for this potential that this whole structure here is looking to extend out. Now, if we are looking at something like that, what we would then be saying is that our potential wave 5 would be looking to target out this area of the 20 cents 92 to this 20 cents 80, and then what we'd want to see is the previous 4th wave looking to hold. So if we do see a 5-wave move up like this, I'm going to start looking for that potential that price could start to react to the upside in a more impulsive way here, and we could look to come back up here and start taking some of these highs, but we don't have enough confirmation of this yet. We need to see whether the price action is going to follow through here, or whether we're just going to see this continue to break down one more time here, looking for this lower level. If we start to break down below the 1717, it starts to become less likely that this is going to hold, this idea of this becoming a bigger ABC pattern, and we'd have to start being very careful of that idea of having something like a diagonal to the downside here, where we could see something along these lines, where we have this as potentially 1, 2, 3. We're looking for a 4th wave and a 5th wave down. Now, the reason I don't like this idea as of yet is because of the fact that this move to the upside does look like a 5-wave structure. If we just get a 3-wave move, A, B, and C, something like this, we fail to take this wave too high, which is sitting here at this 3621, what we could then see is that this could actually become a 4th wave and reject off of these target areas here, this 3019 to this area here, this 2369, and then look for this continuation down in another 3-wave move, looking for this to actually become an expanding diagonal. Now, these are not very common, but we have to just respect the fact that they can play out. What I want to see though is a move up past this 2637, because that would make the 4th wave larger than this wave 2, which is what we want to see when we get an expanding diagonal. If we did move up towards those levels of this 2637, effectively what we'd be looking for as a target then for this 5th wave would be this 01151. Now, if we start to follow that impulsive structure, then the idea of this diagonal will actually, just disappear, because within this impulsive count, what we are saying is that we're going to be looking to break these highs here. So this is going to be the key thing here. If we do start to break to the upside from where we currently are, I want to see price confirm this by seeing a move up past this 4239. Now, it doesn't have to move directly up here. What we can also do is that potentially we could form this as 1, 2 here. We form another 1 and a 2 here, and then we start to see this price action looking to play out to the upside. Having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that we're currently above our central lines, which is sitting in this area here of this 2014 to this 2010. Now, if we do continue to hold this level as a potential support zone, what we could see is price could actually get gravitated towards the previous daily high here of this 2036 and the resistance 1 line of this 2040. Now, if we do see price looking to push up here, what we could then see is if we reject off this, we could look to come back down to our lines or actually move through this level. If, however, we look for continuation, we get back above this 2040 and find support here, potentially then we could look to see price move up towards this 2064. We have this 2092 and 2116 as potential targets for today. If, however, we see price starting to move to the downside here and we lose these central lines, what we could then see is price be gravitated back towards this 1988, or this previous daily low, which is sitting here towards this 1984. If we see this level hold, then potentially we could see this continuation up. If we see this level get lost, what we would be looking at potential targets for the downside to today would be this 1960. We have this 1936 and this 1908 as potential targets. Now moving over here and having a look at the weekly pivot points, what we can see is that we are currently still below our weekly pivots. If we do move back to the upside here, potentially we could find resistance between this 2033 and this 2063 area. So if we do just see a three-way move up here, we could still look for that potential of continuation to the downside. If however we do see price moving above these levels and we start to break through them, potential targets this week become this 2091, we have this 2163 and this 2207 as potential upside targets. If however we continue to reject off these, then potentially we could look to come back down and look to retest this S1 line at this 1976. Alternatively, lower down we do have this level of this 1933 and this 1860 as possible downside targets for this week. So we need to be just on the lookout that if price moves into these levels, we could see potential pivots on those zones. Now, if we're looking at the monthly CPR, what we can see is we're kind of in the middle of this. Now, price could either look to potentially come back up and look to retest the central lines here, which is sitting between this 2230 to this area here of this 2130. Now, this would be an interesting zone because obviously we do have some highs that are aligning with some of these areas. So going to be keeping an eye on that if we do see price just move up here in a corrective manner. Alternatively, if we do start to break down in a bigger way here, potentially we could look for this 1863, which would also be aligning with this low over here, which if you remember when we were talking about this earlier, I was saying this 0.618 could be a very interesting area indeed towards this 1861 as a possible zone we might see a reaction. Now, if we do look to lose that level, other targets to the downside for today become this 1642 and we have this 1324 as potential downside targets. If we do look to push up and we look to manage to get back above these central CPR lines, potential targets for this month become this 2406. We have this 2716 and this 2945 as potential upside targets for this month. So going to be keeping an eye on this. If we do see price moving into some of these zones, we can potentially see it pivot off of these levels that we just discussed. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We will see you in the next one. Take care.